process. So you should be able to see my screen now. When you are logged into your IQ office, you're going to get a screen that looks very similar to this. And if you're going in, and where we're going to really spend our time today is underneath this marketing tab. And when I go underneath that marketing tab to get to my saved content, so any content that you've created in the past that you want to get back to, it will all be underneath my saved content. And if you go to my saved content underneath the e-marketing or the print marketing, it takes you to the same place. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that My Saved Marketing section. And when I do that, I get a screen that looks like this. Now, if I go to the company, if your company has saved content in there for you to utilize, that would come up. The demo account that I'm using does not have company content in there for them to share. So that's what that company tab at the top is. And I first want to just go through this filter section at the top because it does make a difference. I'm going to show you when you name your content, how you do that. So you can search by name and you can say it contains, and perhaps it contains the word open house for your open house information. You can also search by category. And so you could actually search for a category to see all your categories within one section. This becomes important when you're actually going in and creating your content, because when you're first starting out, you're not going to have a ton of content in here, but the more content you build, the more content that you use, then the more content you'll have in here, and you'll want to be able to go back and access and quickly sort through. So that filter section at the top is how you filter content. To add new content, you click the plus button in the upper right-hand corner and you go to plus add content. When you do this, it opens up a screen that will give you the option to create the content. And we're going to go through one of each type today. So I can see at the top, I can see that I can show all of the content, the emailable content or the printable content. Again, just to reiterate how we got there, we went to marketing, my saved content, and then we clicked the plus add content in the upper right-hand corner. That opened up the screen for choosing the content layout that we want to use. Underneath this content type, you can choose from company templates. So if your company has templates that they've created for you, they will show up underneath that content type company templates. You also can go in and you can choose from the category. So underneath that category, you can see there's blank content, there's events, there's holidays, there are letters, there are postcards, and property flyers. So we're going to just start with the blank content. And blank content is really good for if you have, maybe you have a JPEG that you've created in a different program that you want to drop into an email. If you want to actually write a letter, so you're writing a letter to potential buyers or sellers or past sellers, maybe you're doing a newsletter comparing different cities. So you could actually do a newsletter here. Maybe you're comparing living in Minnesota versus living in Wisconsin. So you choose the type of blank content. I'm going to choose one. If anytime you see this picture button at the top, it means that there's a place that's formatted for you to insert a photo. Anybody have any questions so far before I go to the next step? Awesome. Thanks, Jen. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to select one of these templates, and I'm going to just select this blank content for. When I do that at the top, I have to name the content and then that category name. When we first logged in and I was searching by the name or the category, this is where that information is pulling from. So if I name this content, perhaps this is going to be newsletter content 2019, and I'm going to put it in my newsletter category. And I'm going to say April. because it is April today. Then as I scroll down, anytime I see one of these pencil highlight buttons, I can actually change that information. So if I click on that photo, I can upload images into that photo. So I can say, hey, I want to go into the images that I've uploaded. I want to use this sold photo that's in here, and click save. It's automatically going to crop it to the size. If you don't like the way that it's cropped, you can actually go in and say, okay, I want to do this, but I want to change the cropping so that maybe it's just the camera, or maybe it's just the hand, or I need to change the size. And it will allow you to change the size of that image that's being inserted. Again, these things that show this picture are meant for a photo. Below that is where you can enter in your text. So if you click on any of these 3 columns, I can go in and I can enter text. What's really neat is this section at the top where it says, has a drop-down menu. So I can actually say, hello, and then select my contact first name and hit enter, hit select. And now anytime I send this out in an email, it's going to automatically enter the contact name into that spot. Wanted to reach out to you about what happened in March in our area. You can put our area, or you can also drop down and you could say contact city. So now it's going to insert that contact city in there so that you are creating content that is directly applicable to your clients or potential clients. It's content that is personal. It's adding value. A lot of times I get people asking me why people aren't reading their emails. And it's because of 2 reasons. One, I think we're bombarded by emails and it's really hard to keep up with everything all the time. And 2, if you're not providing value, I'm not going to read your email. And if I'm really busy and you're not providing email, I'm not even going to open it. So make sure that you're working really hard to be wise about what you're sending and try and create value in everything you're doing. I evaluate myself in what content I'm sending out. I ask the question, would I read this email? If I wouldn't read this email, why am I asking my clients to read it? So after you've gone through, you've typed all your message in here, you can push OK. Up here at the top, you can actually upload an image. You can insert a hyperlink. So if you want to link out to your Facebook or something, or a link to a property, you can hit that link here, and then you push OK. You have a few choices in the top then. You have a save and print button, a save and email button, a save button, or a save and get HTML. If you click save and get HTML, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the code so that you can insert that into your website or someplace like that. If you click save and print, it's going to process, and you can go ahead and print it out. Or if you click save an email, it's going to ask you to type the email in on who you want to send it to. If I just click save, it saves it in my content and I can click close. And then again, because I searched for category contains letter, I can actually see my April newsletter here. How do y'all feel about blank content? Any questions on that portion of it? Do you want to go through how to insert a photo or a link directly? I am more than happy to do that. I can also show you in some of the other formats how that works if you'd like. But if you can go ahead and drop a comment in the comment box that says, hey, we're good to go, that would be awesome. Then I know that I haven't gone too fast. Awesome. Thanks, Samantha. Again, feel free to ask questions at any time about any of this information. So next we're going to go through how to do an event content. So again, we're just going to choose from that category event. And an event and a holiday act very similarly. It's just that these are not necessarily national holidays. So we're going to do an event called Home Anniversaries. So there are a whole bunch of home anniversary cards in here. And you can actually choose one of the layouts. So you could say, hey, I want to do this home sweet home. The other thing I want to show you is if you want to preview something, you can actually click on the preview and it's going to bring up the layout of what it looks like. So I'm going to do this home sweet home. And again, you just click select. You would name the content. And again, add that category name. And maybe this is a customer appreciation. And then anything you can highlight over, you can change. So if you don't want this to say congratulations, you can actually just type in the information here. It has been a year. Hope you are loving your home. And then you can type something in here as well. So like happy anniversary. Hope we can chat soon. And click OK. So it's automatically editing all that. If you need to change your name or your contact information, you can do that by clicking in that button. And again, same options at the top. Save, save and print, save an email, save. Now, something to keep in mind as we're going through these is when you're creating content, and I try to remember this in IQ in general, it's always best to work from the top down. So you're going to add your people in, you manage your listings, and then you do your marketing. In your marketing, create your content first, and then create your campaigns. Because then you have content that you're creating here. And if you want to use the same piece of content for multiple campaigns, you can. If you go in and you create your campaign by going into My Campaigns and actually just add events to your campaigns, that content does not automatically save to your My Saved content. I also think it makes it a little bit more complex than it needs to be. So I always go into My Saved content. I create my content here first, and then I attach it to a campaign. Does that make sense to everybody? Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So the next section that we're going to go through is doing a property flyer. So again, clicking that plus new button in the upper right-hand corner. And property flyers are pretty slick. So I'm not going to do a holiday because a holiday and event work the same way. I am going to come back to letters, but I am going to do this property flyer. So you can do property flyers two ways. I can go in and I can create a property flyer for an open house. I just chose the property flyer open house from the drop-down, and I could select this layout. When I do that, in the right-hand corner, there is a button that says Select Property. And that links to all of the MLS numbers that are available to me. So I can actually just say, I can type in the property here, or I could say, hey, I see this, it's Greencrest. Once I click that property, it's going to automatically reach out and grab the photos and the listing information. It also changes the content name. I suggest adding something like open house. To that. And I can scroll down and now I can say, okay, well, I don't like what they selected for these photos down below. So I'm going to say, hey, I don't want this picture. I can go and I can select the property images. So I can say, okay, let's actually show this view of the dining room, because that gives you a better idea of the space. I can go in and I can say that's just a picture of a corner of a room. That doesn't help anybody in this, but I could select this photo. Now I get a better idea. You can also upload your own photos. So I live in the inland Northwest. The snow has finally melted up here, and there's a lot of houses right now that all the photos that are out have snow on them. So as a good agent, if you're going out to do a photo or do an open house of a home, it might behoove you to go take a quick picture with your cell phone and upload it if the weather has changed. I know a lot of you are also in the north side of the United States, and things from week to week can look very different. So make sure that the information that you're putting in here is updated. And then I can go down, I can put in my open house dates. So I can say, hey, open house on, and I can put the time and date. So I could say, this is on Saturday, April 8th, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Okay. I can make sure the price is in there. If I don't want the list price in there, I can say, I can actually type information in here. And click OK. Again, I can change the address. If I don't want the address, or maybe you don't need the zip code, you can change that. I can change this open house. So I could say something that said, great new construction. Here, it's going to tell you how many characters you get. Again, you can change your photo, you can change your name, you can change your cell information, and you can also change this information on the right-hand side. So I can actually click on that button where it has all the MLS details, and I can choose to have the MLS details, or I can choose to have the description. I can also change the description if I want to include information from the ML side. And then I click OK. It will limit your characters so that you don't go over the number or amount of information that you can have here. And then once you're done, you have the same options at the top. But that makes it way easier. I do want to just quickly go through the second way to make property flyers, because I think that sometimes it's nice to know both ways. Again, this way I went from marketing, my saved content, added new, and then chose property flyers. You also can go into your listings and click on the listing that you would like to have a flyer made for, and you can say print or email a flyer from up here. So again, to get to it that way, I went listings, opened up the listing dashboard, selected the listing that I wanted to make a flyer for, and clicked print or email flyer. Then I get the same drop-down menus here, categories on the market. I select, and again, I can edit all of this information here. If I make a flyer attached to a property and click save, it still goes to my saved content. Everybody doing okay? Awesome. Y'all are so good. So next thing that I want to just quickly go through, and this one will probably be a very short, we probably will wrap up at about 8:30 today, are these letters. So there are some letters in here that you can use. So I could actually say, hey, I want to edit this agent-to-agent referral letter, and click select, and you can go in and there are some templated letters in here for you. When you go in and you can see, hello, contact name, I hope this letter finds you in good health and spirits. Recently, I referred a friend and client to your business. They're looking for a proper home. Here's all the information. Now, keep in mind this section down here. Members should modify this document to address their specific needs. So make sure that you're going in and you're editing this so that it reads like you would read it. The other thing I want to go through is this inserting a link to a document. So you can actually send a PDF through an email in IQ Office without attaching it. You can actually just have it be a downloadable link. And how you do that is you go to the Files section and you go to your Home folder. When you go into your Home folder, you can actually upload documents into this folder. So I can say, hey, I need to upload a document, and I'm going to upload this document. It's going to add it into my file. And then I've got online document storage, which is great, but I also can link it. Of course, I chose the largest document in my downloads, apparently. There it is, it's added. And now I can see here it is. It tells you what type of file it is. Underneath that Actions button, there is a section that says Be Social. And you can actually then have a URL for that document. So I'm just going to hit Control-C, and I'm going to go back to my marketing. Once I have that URL, I can say, hey, I'm going to use this changing real estate. I want to edit this. And I can say, okay, I need to put in a link. So perhaps you need to hyperlink this in. What I do is I highlight the word I want hyperlinked, I hit the link button, and I hit Control-V. I then tell it to open it in a new window, and I click OK. Now that document is actually hyperlinked in. So in that example of the letter that we did that was a referral, client referral letter, you could actually create a template with a document in it that was a referral form. So it had, hey, agreement is, here's my name, here's my information, 25% outgoing referral. You've had your broker sign it. It's not dated because obviously the date would change. And say, hey, please agree to the following information. Send me the document back, and I will go ahead and fill out the contact information. So that's one idea. This also works great for those checklists that you use for clients. Hey, wanted to share some great information with you about a moving checklist. Click here to download. And you can actually have that PDF stored in your IQ Office. They click there to download, and it automatically downloads on their computer. The advanced section of this is if you have a document, if you have a letter or content created that has something like that included, you can actually go and you can add it to an action plan. So I just want to start from the beginning on this really quick. We went to Files. We went to the Home folder. We uploaded the document here, and we got the hyperlink. We did that by clicking Actions, Be Social. Then we went to Marketing, and we created content that said for information about this checklist, click here, and we linked that file to a marketing content. Well, you can go in and you could actually create an action plan that said, hey, I want that to be the first thing that went out. So I could say, hey, in this Circle of Influence action plan, 36 contact points, you can add an automatic email and choose from your content that you've created. You choose that and you say, hey, I want this to go out immediately after I add the person to this plan. So there's a lot of things that you can do with your content. You can email it. So from marketing and My Saved Content, you can email it. You can print it. You can get the HTML code to put it on your website or your blog. You can go in and you can attach it to a campaign. Or you can go into your tools and you can attach it directly to action plans. So there are a lot of things that you can do to have that content automatically generate for you. That's a lot of information in a very short amount of time. I'm sure that you have questions, and I want to encourage you that if you have a question, someone else probably has a question too. So I have blocked out till 9 o'clock. We do not have to go that long, but I do want to just make sure, do you have any questions about the system or about creating content? Do you need to see anything again? Know that if you have a question, someone else has a question as well. Okay, I did just ask a poll. I know that a lot of you are regulars on Monday mornings, and something that is really important is you spent about a half hour together this morning, and if you don't go in and actually use what we just went through, it's really hard to remember exactly how it's done. And so it's time to get out your calendar and put some time on your calendar this week that you will be going ahead and creating some content for yourself. Maybe they're template letters that go out for emails. Maybe they're thank you cards for clients. Maybe they're holiday events that you can email out. But actually going in and going through so that you can actually create the content. That's a hilarious question, Rob, and I will send you the video. Happy April Fool's Day. That used to give me a lot of anxiety hearing that. I just found my login. Can we start again? And then I realized that these were recorded. And so you all will have access to this. I think that really the first step, so if you're not a computer savvy person, if technology is a challenge for you, that's okay. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're learning. And that is a big part of this. Go in, create some property flyers. If I was brand new to the system and you didn't know anything, that's where I would start. I would make property flyers. If you are in the system, you're building some things out, you're doing things like that, I would go start actually creating some template letters, as well as content that I thought could fit multiple campaigns, newsletters, and things like that. If I were an expert computer user, I would be going in and creating content that I could attach to action plans and uploading documents to my home folder so that I could embed them on my website and share them on social media. If what I just said is very confusing, that means you're not there yet, and that's okay. You'll get there. Start creating some letters, use the system, attach them to campaigns, get comfortable with that, and then we'll go to the next part. Sonia, what company are you with? So there is a financial section of IQ Office. Some companies are using it, some companies are not, but which one? Okay. So some companies are using this financial section to do their transactions. Some companies are not. I do not believe you are. But it's super slick. Other questions for people? Do you want to see how to attach an event to a campaign and go through what some of those options are, since we have a little bit of extra time this morning? Okay, awesome. So after you've gone into marketing and you've created all this content, you can actually go and attach it to a campaign. So underneath My Campaigns is where you go, and it's going to open up all your campaigns. I know I'm on My Campaigns because I can see that up here at the top. I can say, hey, I want to add an event to this Client 2019 campaign. To do that, I go into Actions and Edit Campaign. Then I click on the plus event in the upper right-hand corner. When I do that, it's going to give me a choice to create the content here, or I can choose from my content. So I can say, hey, my content, I want this to be an open house. I want it to be this Spring Creek Parkway that I've already done. And then I can go in and edit this if I would like. I'm going to change the subject. I'm going to add a send date. And I'm going to add a send time so I don't look like a robot. Something to keep in mind is this. Underneath this date, you have several options. So when we talk about that home anniversary date, and that's awesome, and how would you use that, and then I'm having to remember everybody's date, you could actually say, I want this to send out on a transaction date, and I want to send it 1 year after the transaction date at this time, and I'm going to click Finish. I only want to save changes for this event. Well, that's great, Kelsey, but where does that transaction date pull from? It pulls from your Customer Relations tab. So if you actually look at your contacts and leads, at the very bottom of this screen, there's a section called Transactions, and you can actually enter in the transaction date. So even if your company's not using the transaction date system, you can enter the last transaction date in so that you can actually use those home anniversary cards in a campaign. So again, what we did is we went to marketing, we went to campaigns, we opened up the event or the campaign we wanted to edit, we added an event, we chose from my content. We can say, hey, maybe it's a just sold. And you choose if you want to send on a date, a month, a holiday, or a birthday. So if you wanted to send on their birthday, you need to make sure you have their birthday in IQ Office. A day of week, if it's something that goes out every Friday, or a transaction date, and you choose when that actually gets sent. If it's sent 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whenever it is. And then you click Finish. Something to keep in mind is the reason that this only goes to 5 years is because after 5 years, you need to be doing something besides sending them one postcard a year. You should be calling them. You also should be between 5 and 7 years is when people typically start to think about moving. Questions on that section? All right, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. I want to make sure that you all know Next Monday at 8 a.m., we will be going through some more information, always Mondays at 8 a.m. I also do want to just make sure that you all know about the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. So you can actually go into Facebook. This is what the Realistic User site looks like. If you haven't joined, please do join. All of our webinars are listed underneath that events tab. There's also a lot of questions that will be answered on our YouTube channel, which is Realistic Support. This is where you can find all of our webinars. There's a bunch of playlists, popular uploads, but we really want to make sure you have all the resources you need to build a successful business and use this CRM in a great way. You're very welcome, y'all. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.